Hey guys, it's Nikes, and today I'm going over my CD collection as of June of 2026. So, just very recently, within the last few months, I've actually gotten into music. It's weird to say, but I was never really much of a big music guy until a couple months ago when I decided to just start listening to Halloween at work. And I realized, wait, I actually really like this stuff. Oops. So now it's my new major interest. I'm exploring all these bands, and I'm also now starting to collect CDs. And I have amassed, not a huge collection, but a little bit of a collection. I thought it'd be fun if every few months, probably every 6 months or so, I went over my CD collection because I can start doing this, when the collection is pretty new. And this is something that I did do with my game collection. I started that back in 2020, but in March 2021, I started recording occasional videos where I would just show, everything I'd gotten in the last year and kind of show like my gaming setup. And that still is a tradition that I technically do to this day. I haven't like made this year's collection update. But it is still like an annual tradition of mine. And so I thought, now that I'm collecting a new medium, I thought it'd be fun to do the same thing with that. And one thing that I do think is pretty fun about this collection, or at least this shelf, this is the same little black shelf that I started my game collection on. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like coming full circle or starting from scratch again. This shelf is once again babying a new collection of mine. One day it's gonna have to move on to bigger shelves. But, for now, this shelf is the home to my very small CD collection, so let's go over it. So the first one on here is actually the odd one out, or at least one of the odd ones out. It is Arctic Monkeys' Favorite Worst Nightmare. So I got this back in like 2019 because there was an old Ninjago stop motion series, and one of those videos used a song from this album, If You Were There Beware, and I really love that song, so I listened to that song on its own, and then I listened to the other songs of this album, and I'm like, oh wow, I actually really like this album. So I picked up this album. Yeah, I really do like this album. I like having this one physically. It is the only Arctic Monkeys album that I have listened to entirely. I've listened to like a bunch of songs of theirs, though, and I do really like them. Once I kind of get through a lot of the power metal and even the metal scene in general, I do want to go back and listen to them. But yeah, this wasn't the first CD that I got that's in this collection, but it's still the second one, so it's still pretty special for me, and I do really love this album still. So yeah, that's a fun one. Next up, we have two Gamma Ray albums. These are both live albums. We have Heading for the East and Lust for Live. Cute names. They of course play off of an album name and a song name. But yeah, as I said, these are live albums. This one's from a show in 1990. It was in Japan, I believe, and I don't know where this show was, but I believe it was 94. So these both predate when Kai Hansen was singing for Gamma Ray, but they're still, pretty cool releases. These are actually 25th anniversary editions, and these were the first time that these live albums were put onto CD, because the shows themselves were released on VHS and DVD, but they were never like given CD releases. So this was the first release of that in, I think, 2015 and 2016 respectively. Although the copyrights on here list 2025, so I guess these were released last year, even though 2015 was the 25th anniversary of Gamma Ray. So I don't fully know what the deal of these are, but these are, still pretty fun. Gamma Ray is one of those bands that sounds absolutely phenomenal live, so these are just fun releases to have. Next up, we have the other odd one out here. It is the Halloween 2018 movie soundtrack. I may giggle at that these days, but like, I can't deny this movie was crazy influential on me for a couple of reasons. And all over the years, I have definitely seen the flaws in this movie more. One thing that is still utterly fantastic is the soundtrack of the film. I do think the soundtrack still goes crazy hard with songs like The Grind, The Shape Hunts Allison. Like, there's a lot of great songs on this soundtrack. So it makes it seem kind of funny to have a movie soundtrack in my collection, and of all movies, fucking Halloween 2018. But I mean, this soundtrack is really great. Next up, we got Hammerfall, which this isn't a band that I've listened to yet, and I am trying to keep a rule with myself where like, I'm not gonna buy CDs from bands that I haven't listened to. But this one is a bit of an exception for a couple of reasons. First off, this is a single where they did a cover of Halloween's I Want Out. And so I'm like, well, it kind of technically isn't their song, it's just a cover. So, plus it was like $5, and the music store that I go to, they had a buy 3 get 1 free, and I had 3 CDs, and I was like, well, I need to find one more. I saw this and I'm like, yeah, why not? This is a pretty cool release, though. At least the recording of I Want Out is pretty cool. Kai Hansen, the original writer of the song, actually does play on it, and he also does backing vocals, but he also leads vocals in the second verse of the song, which is like really cool because he didn't even do that back in Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. So that does make this, a little bit more of a cool release. The other two songs, I'm at the End of the Rainbow and Man of the Silver Mountain, are, I don't know why I'm laughing. They're good power metal songs. I do need to listen to Hammerfall. They're definitely on my list. There's a lot of bands on my list, so I'll get to them eventually. I just have no idea when. But yeah, this is still, you know, a pretty cool release for that reason with Kai Hansen. Now we're moving on to the biggest chunk of the collection, and that is the Helloween CDs. As you can tell, they're my guys. And our first CD here is probably the coolest thing in my collection. This is a relatively rare CD release of the original 1985 EP. So this was released in Malaysia in 2017 as Valentine Sound Productions. I believe they acquired the company that had the rights to this EP back in the 80s. And so in 2017, they did limited releases of this EP and a couple of other like EPs and LPs that they had the rights to. So because this was released in 2017, this flew under like so many radars. And so I'm pretty sure like it's pretty rare, but it's also not expensive at all. It was like $15, and then shipping was $15 because it was from Malaysia. But it was still, you know, a decently cheap pickup, and that's why, you know, I got it. I also just wanted to have the EP as a standalone release. What is interesting about this one, though, is that the song list, it does have the original lineup, but it also has Don't Run for Cover from Keeper Part 2, and also Judas. And now that I think about it, Don't Run for Cover wasn't even on the original release of Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. It was on one of the singles for that album. So I don't know, I guess they just also had like the rights to this song, so they threw it on here. Judas at least makes a little more sense. It was a single from the Jericho era, so like it makes a little more sense to put it on here. Don't Run for Cover confused me, but I still really like this release, you know. It's still pretty cool. I think its uniqueness and technical rarity is part of what makes me love it so much. And I do think it is like the coolest thing in my collection because of that. Next up, we got two releases of Walls of Jericho. First off, we have, I believe this is the 1993 edition, and this includes, of course, Walls of Jericho, along with the EP and Judas. So at the time, this was like the definitive pickup because you got Walls of Jericho and the EP and Judas. One thing that is weird about this release is that the spine only says Helloween along with the inserts and the actual disc. It kind of makes sense because at least this was like the entire Helloween discography up to Judas. But at the same time, like it's Walls of Jericho. That's the art on the cover. So I don't know. It's a little weird, but yeah, you know, Walls of Jericho. But I do also have the most recent release of Walls of Jericho. This was the 2024 remaster in the paper sleeve, which I don't really love, but this is a really great release. It's got two discs, nice fold out. Of course, the first disc includes all of Walls of Jericho along with Judas, and then also live versions of Ride the Sky and Guardians. And then disc 2 includes the EP tracks, and then also 2 songs from their death metal sampler, and then some remixes for Murder and Ride the Sky. So yeah, this is a pretty cool release. I think my favorite part about it is just how premium it feels. I mean, the paper doesn't feel crazy premium, but like the printing is, of course, phenomenal. The actual booklet inside is great. It has some pictures from the era, along with lyrics for all the songs, which is really great. I do want to pick up the rest of the 2024 remasters for their first few albums, but I of course had to start with this one because, you know, it's the first album. Next up, we got my first duplicates. We got 2 copies of Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. This one was the copy that I got in the Hunting for Halloween CDs video, and then this one just came with a lot that I recently purchased that helped me fill out this collection a little bit more. I would have passed on this if I had the choice, but at the same time, like, the lot was a pretty good deal, even though I was getting a duplicate, so I was like, I don't care. I'll get a duplicate of Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. Who doesn't want a duplicate of Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2? One thing that is interesting, though, I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but this copy looks a little, like, lower quality, almost like it's like a bootleg. I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but the printing quality on this one is just like ever so slightly blurrier. When I put them up next to each other, like I can definitely see it a lot better. And thankfully that does help me distinguish between 2 versions. I know that this is the one that I got in the lot because there's no cracks on the case, but the printing is like, it looks lower quality, and then this one has a crack on the case, but the printing is higher quality, so at least I can distinguish and know which one was the first one that I got. But these are both, I believe, the original pressings from 1988, at least for the US releases. So yeah, like of all albums to have duplicates of, Keeper Part 2 isn't a bad one at all. Next up, we got what was basically one of the definitive Helloween releases back then. It is Helloween, The Best, The Rest, and The Rare. Compilation album that is, of course, the best of some of the other songs, and then also some of the more obscure songs. I don't think any of the songs were released for the first time on this CD, maybe in the States. But Living Ain't No Crime, Savage, and Don't Run for Cover were all included with Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2 era singles. So at the time they were definitely a little harder to come by, so this, you know, CD helped make that a little easier to get a hold of. And then of course you got a lot of the other great classics like I Want Out, Dr. Steen, Future World. You also got Halloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys, which, you know, makes sense for a best of Halloween CD. But I am curious to check out the version of Keeper of the Seven Keys on this, because my favorite version is the 2002 remix, and I do kind of want to see, like, is the version on here different than the one included on Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2, or is it just that version? So I am curious to check that out. But yeah, I think it's just a cool release. So we jump up a few albums here with Time of the Oath, and I believe this was one of the original pressings from 1996. No bonus tracks or anything, nothing, you know, no too special. This one is just a regular copy of Time of the Oath, but great album of theirs, obviously, so I do like having this one. But because of that, there isn't really like much to say about this one, which isn't the case with the next one. Better Than Raw, from what I can tell, this is a pressing from the early 2000s, as this includes A Game We Shouldn't Play as a bonus track, which I gotta be honest, I didn't even know that was a bonus track. It's weird because to me, like, that is one of the defining songs of Better Than Raw, so that being a bonus track is interesting to me. But yeah, I believe this is like a 2003 pressing, or at least an early 2000s pressing. Could have fooled me, but at least that makes this version a little more interesting. Want me to spice it up a little bit more? I'm a little more mixed on this album. I mean, I think it's good, but I think it's generically good. It was the third great Halloween album in a row after Master of the Rings and Time of the Oath, so to me, this one is a little less interesting. And the only reason that's interesting to say is because this is one of like the most beloved Halloween albums. Anyways, we got our last Halloween album, and that is also the most recent one, is Giants and Monsters. I got this when I saw them back in April for their 40th anniversary tour. They just had it at the merch booth, and I was like, yeah, I should probably start on my Halloween collection here. And I really do love this release. The fold-out art is just phenomenal. The art for these two recent albums are absolutely gorgeous, and I just love, you know, how it looks here. But yeah, I just love like how high quality this release is. The idea of all the other 2024 remasters being like up to the quality of this, because Walls of Jericho is up to the quality of this. So the idea that the 2024 remasters of all the other albums are going to be up to the quality of this is just so exciting to me. I'm very much looking forward to collecting those. But yeah, this is a great one as well. And lastly, we have Manowar, Best of Manowar, The Hell is Steel. I listened through, I think, about half of Manowar's discography. And, you know, I like them. They're definitely not my favorite power metal, but I enjoyed them good enough, at least enough to pick up this Best of album. From the tracks that I recognize on here, you know, good picks. They're definitely some that they left off that I'm just like, really? But it's still a pretty good lineup. This is from 94, so it just has tracks from their first few albums, but, you know, I mean, those are technically some of their best, so makes sense for a best of. But yeah, that is the final CD on this shelf for now. I don't know if I should have mentioned this earlier, but I do have these in alphabetical order by band name. So obviously it starts with Arctic Monkeys, ends with Manowar. I guess some people don't organize it that way, which is interesting to me, but you know, that's how I organize it. But yeah, I guess to finish this off, I guess I can kind of talk about my trajectory with my collection. What are some of the things that I do want to hit? So the biggest thing is going to be filling out the Halloween collection, because, you know, they're my favorite. I want to get all their stuff the most. That includes the 2024 remasters for the albums that got them. I know through Chameleon got them. I thought Master of the Rings through Better Than Raw also got them, but I also was having a little bit of issue finding them, so I need to dig a little deeper for those. But regardless, finish the Halloween lineup, get the Gamma Ray lineup done, and then hopefully by then I have another band that I really want to get their whole discography. But yeah, I'm still at a very early point where I'm just still listening to a lot of bands, and I am lucky to be in the era that I am now, where like I can really just check out any band for free on YouTube Music, and then if I like them, I can pick up some of their stuff. If I don't like them, I don't have to waste my money. So basically, this collection is a manifestation of the bands that I like the most, or at least the CDs that interest me, which is, you know, the case for like Hammerfall, I Want Out. So that's definitely the fun thing about collecting stuff like this, and that's why I love collecting stuff like this. I'm very excited to be collecting CDs because I was game collecting for a good like 4.5, 5 years. But in those last few months, it did become really boring because I gotten pretty much everything that I wanted that I could reasonably afford. So I wasn't really collecting much, and it was kind of boring. So to have like a whole new medium that I can collect for with all of this stuff that I want, it is really exciting. And so I'm excited to see how this collection grows. That's why I'm doing a video like this, so I can look back in the future and be like, man, that was such a small start to my collection. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I do want to start talking about some of these albums more in depth soon. It's just that making videos like that is going to be pretty dang time consuming, because I do want to do a lot of research, really get to understand the songs. So I want to take like a really in-depth look into all these songs. So it is going to be a lot of work. I'm already juggling weekly videos on 2 other channels, so it'll happen when it happens. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time, whenever next time is.